I think I've always been very connected to the landscape in Taiwan because, as you can see from the video, I'm in a wheelchair, and it's due to a progressive illness that I have. Now I'm 28, but I only started using the wheelchair full-time when I was 18. And when I was 18, I went to New York to pursue my BFA. And I rarely ever come back to Taiwan because flying is quite difficult on my body. I think the first time I came back to Taiwan after going to New York for school was in 2021 during COVID. And it was the first time coming back to my hometown where I had to use a wheelchair full-time. And that created a very complicated feeling for me because suddenly all these places that I used to go to with my friends, with family, these mountains, these landscapes, these national parks were suddenly all inaccessible to me. I just wanted to create this kind of bittersweet, melancholic feeling in the works, and the idea of using the deterioration of a landscape as an analogy for my own body's progression. So as somebody who has pretty much spent half my life in Taiwan, in Asia, and the other half in America, in the West, finding symbols in our history that appears in both canons, yet have very different symbolic meaning is really interesting to me. And so, specifically the owl. Let's talk about the owl, which, I do anthropomorphic, put my head on an owl as a self-portrait. To me, it's really kind of interesting thing because in the Eastern canon, in Asia, the symbol of an owl has long been a symbol of wisdom, of knowledge, of knowing the future. And the owl in the West, specifically say in Harmonious Bosch's works, the owl is a symbol of death, is a symbol of Satan, of knowing one's own death. And so for me, there was always this, even as a young child, there was this kind of foreboding knowledge of my own progressive illness. And to me, it just made a lot of sense that this owl is a symbol that has great knowledge, knows the future, knows what's gonna come. It's a symbol that represents kind of impending hardship, yet in my images, the owl is proud, it's confident. So for this show specifically, all 24 paintings or drawings, they're all color pencil. And I found that using graphite, using color pencil was just probably the best way to get the kind of images I want and the monochromaticness of the works. I really liked an image where you perceive it differently when it's from afar versus up close. So for a lot of the more monochromatic images, when you are looking at them from afar, they almost seem abstract. But the closer you get to them, the more these little images, little details appear. And I like the idea of the viewer investing and spending more time in front of a work. So there is, for this solo show, there is a rock on the stairs, and it is the first sculpture that I've ever done in my career, I would say. And to me, it was a necessity for this show specifically because of how prominent the staircase is in this gallery. I had to really think about curating it in a way where the audience could experience it the way I do, and the way I would experience a show like this that is 2 floors would be through the elevator, and that's why the elevator has a work. All the works are hung lower. They're hung about at my eye line. They're hung lower, and that is another way for people to, even in some senses, subconsciously realize that they are stepping into kind of my environment and my perspective and my worldview. I really wanted the exhibition to be think of it as like a conceptual album from the start to finish, the way you go through the exhibit. You see the rock, you go into the elevator to the 2nd floor. The entire layout of an exhibition is a story. And hopefully the title, As the Mountain Slides into the Sea, is a pretty indicative title in terms of me talking about the atrophy of a landscape, of a relationship, of my body. Just this idea that everything passes with time and everything kind of gets swept away into the sea at the end of the day. The general theme of the show might be something more sad, depressing, but these landscape, it's still a very beautiful place, and I'm sure in the future I would love for, say, my kids to go to enjoy. So I think I face all these issues with in a very hopeful kind of manner.